Okay, this study or this lecture is about ethics in research. All ethical principles are applied in research. We will be talking about ethics in research. It means that when we conduct a research, we need to know whether what we do is ethical or not. Is there principles that should be applied when we collect data, we analyze, we should know all dimensions or all things that a researcher should do before going through the all steps of research. Research ethics provides guidelines for the responsible conduct of biomedical research. In addition, research ethics educates and monitors scientists conducting research to ensure a high ethical standard. يعني في كثير من الأحيان قد يكون بداية الريسيرش أو خلال إجراء الريسيرش هناك خطوات قد لا تكون أخلاقية، بمعنى أنها تخترق أو لا تكون حافظة لمبادئ الأخلاقيات، سواء كان حقوق الإنسان أو أي بعد من أبعاد هذه الأخلاقيات. So, why study research ethics? By knowing what constitutes ethical research is important for all people who conduct research projects or use and apply the results from research findings. طبعا لازم منظومة الأخلاق تنطبق بشكل كبير جدا على الريسيرش، على البحث العلمي. يجب أن يكون هناك إطار مفصل بتفاصيل دقيقة بكل ما يتعلق بهذا الريسيرش. So, research is a public trust that must be ethically conducted, trustworthy, and socially responsible if the results are to be valuable. طبعا حتى نثق بهذا الريسيرش it should be ethically conducted. All parts of a research project, from the project design to submission of the results for peer review اللي هي انه يقيم من قبل زملاء اخصائيين, must be upstanding to be considered ethical. Upstanding يعني تصل إلى the standard الممتاز. When even one part of a research project is questionable or conducted unethically, the integrity of the entire project is called into question. So we have to do all parts ethically, without any bias or without any intention or unintention to do bias in the research. All researchers should be familiar with the basic ethical principles and have to date knowledge about policies and procedures designed to ensure the safety of research subjects and to prevent sloppy or irresponsible research. Because ignorance of policies designed to protect research subjects is not considered a viable excuse for ethically questionable project. فبالتالي ignorance of policies or I didn't know, sloppy irresponsible research هذه مش حجج, these are not excuses to conduct a sloppy, not good research. Therefore, the duty lies with the researcher to seek out and fully understand the policies and theories designed to guarantee upstanding research practice. طبعا في تاريخ الهيستوري اللي مر في الإثيكس إن ريسيرش مر عبر محطات. من هذه المحطات ما يسمى نوربرغ كود اللي قامت على أو تبعت سلسلة من المحاكمات التي قامت على محاكمة أناس قاموا ب مجموعة من الريسيرش اللي بنسميه unethical research. So it is a statement limiting permissible medical experimentations or experimentation in human subjects. According to this statement, a human experimentation is justified only if it is its results benefit society, and it is carried out in accord with basic principles that satisfy moral, ethical, and legal concepts. طبعا نورنبرغ هذا مكان المحاكمات اللي صار في أمريكا بعد ما صار في مجموعة من as I said a group of unethical conducted research. So Nuremberg Code consists of 10 basic ethical principles or guidelines as follows. Research participants must voluntarily consent to research participation. Respect of autonomy. Consent. Research aims should contribute to the good of the society. Research must be based on sound theory and prior animal testing. Research must avoid unnecessary physical and mental suffering. No research project can go forward where serious injury and or death are potential outcomes. The degree of risk taken with research participants cannot exceed participated benefits or results. Proper environment and protection for participants is necessary. Experiments can be conducted only by scientifically qualified persons. Human subjects must be allowed to discontinue their participation at any time, and research must be terminated if continuation will result in injury or death. As I said, these 10 basic ethical principles originated from as a result of conducting an ethical research. So when you notice or see an ethically conducted research, you have to put some guidelines, and these were results of that. Let's go also with talk about the World Medical Association WMA Declaration of Helsinki, which is about ethical principles for medical research involving human subjects. Include the necessity of using an independent investigator to review potential research projects, someone who is not involved or not in a relationship or knowing the authors. Employing a medically qualified person to supervise the research and assume responsibility for the health and welfare of human subjects. As you see, many of these guidelines are concerned with the health and welfare of human subjects. The importance of preserving the accuracy of research results. No falsification, no fabrication. Suggestions on how to obtain informed consent from research participants. Rules concerning research with children and mentally incompetent persons, evaluating and using experimental treatments on patients, the importance of determining which medical situations and conditions are appropriate and safe for research. Okay, Helsinki Declaration, we will go in details by Helsinki Declaration. First, Helsinki Declaration includes general principles. It is about Declaration of Geneva of the World Medical Association binds the physician with the words, "The health of my patients will be my first consideration," and the International Code of Medical Ethics declares that a physician shall act in the patient's best interest when providing medical care. So هذه أيضا الدeclaration about for medical research, لكن in the same time it goes also for the ethics in medical practice. So second, it is the duty of the physician to promote and safeguard the health, well-being, and rights of patients, including those who are involved in medical research. Physicians' knowledge and conscience are dedicated to the fulfillment of this duty. And no harm should be done to any participants. Medical progress is based on research that ultimately must include studies involving human subjects. The primary purpose of medical research involving a human subject is to understand the causes, development, and effects of diseases and improve preventive, diagnostic, and therapeutic interventions, methods, procedures, treatment. Even the best proven interventions must be evaluated continually through research for their safety, effectiveness, efficiency, accessibility, and quality. So this is very important purpose of medical research, to understand the causes, development, effect of disease, even for the proven interventions must be evaluated continually. Also, medical research is subject to ethical standards that promote and ensure respect for all human subjects, protect their health and rights. هذا المبدأ بتكرر ولكنه باستمرار هو مهم جدا حتى ما يتنصل أحد من حقوق المشاركين. While the primary purpose of medical research is to generate new knowledge, this goal can never take precedence over the rights and interests of individual research subjects. It is the duty of physicians who are involved in medical research to protect the life, health, dignity, integrity, right to self-determination, privacy, confidentiality, personal information of research subjects. All these are to be protected. Responsibility for the protection of research subjects must always rest with the physician or other healthcare professionals and never with the research subjects, even though they have given consent. So this protection is a very big responsibility, should be always as obligation be committed at. Physicians must consider the ethical, legal, and regulatory norms and standards for research involving human subjects in their own countries, as well as applicable international norms and standards. No national or international ethical, legal, or regulatory requirements should reduce or eliminate any of the protections for research subjects set forth in this declaration. That means it should give more restrictions, not to limit subjects or participants' rights at all costs. Medical research should be conducted in a manner that minimizes possible harm to the environment, and this is also very important. Non-maleficence. Medical research involving human subjects must be conducted only by individuals with the appropriate ethics and scientific education, training, and qualifications. Research on patients or healthy volunteers requires the supervision of a competent and proper and appropriately qualified physicians or other healthcare professionals. So if anyone going to do a research must be qualified. Groups that are underrepresented in medical research should be provided appropriate access to participation in research. Sometimes these groups are ignored, so they should get appropriate access. Physicians who combine medical research with medical care should involve their patients in research only to the extent that this is justified by its potential preventive, diagnostic, or therapeutic value, and if the physician has good reason to believe that participation in the research study will not adversely affect the health of the patients who serve as research subjects. So the main purpose, the main objective when involving patients in research, potential preventive, diagnostic, therapeutic, be ensured. Appropriate compensation and treatment for subjects who are harmed because of participating in research must be ensured. طبعا المبدأ انه no harm، لكن إذا صار any harm they should be compensated. المبدأ الثاني اللي هو الريسكس burdens and benefits. In medical practice and in medical research, most interventions involve risks and burdens. هناك خطورة وتبعات. Medical research involving human subjects may only be conducted if the importance of the objective outweighs the risks and burdens of the research subject. It goes beyond saying. All medical research involving human subjects must be preceded by careful assessment of predictable risks and burdens to the individuals and groups involved in the research in comparison with foreseeable benefits to them and to other individuals or groups affected by the condition under investigation. So we cannot guarantee no risk, but careful assessment of predictable risk. Many of the procedures have risks. Many of the treatments have risks and burden. So if you are introducing new technology, a new treatment, whatever, you have to understand that there is a risk, there is a burden, and minimize the risk and the burden. Measures to minimize the risk must be implemented. The risk must be continuously monitored, assessed, and documented by the researcher. As I said, when you introduce technology or intervention or any kind of a new thing that you need to assess by involving patients or volunteers, you have to understand that you need to minimize the risk by what? Continuously monitoring, assessing, and documenting. Physicians may not be involved in a research study involving human subjects unless they are confident that the risks have been adequately assessed and can be satisfactorily managed. Otherwise, if you are not sure that the risk is minimized or under control, it is a big mistake to conduct such research. When the risks are found to outweigh potential benefits or when there is conclusive proof of definitive outcomes, physicians must assess whether to continue, modify, or immediately stop the study because it's causing harm. Vulnerable groups and individuals. Some groups and individuals are particularly vulnerable. يعني بعض هؤلاء الناس, they are really vulnerable and they may have an increased likelihood of being wronged or of incurring additional harm. These vulnerable subjects or people needs attention. The World Medical Association proposed that persons are vulnerable because of a reduced ability to provide informed consent. Some research populations are particularly vulnerable and need special protection. These include those who cannot give or cannot refuse consent for themselves, and include those who may be vulnerable to coercion or undue influence. سواء كان الإنسان اللي قدرته على التمييز غير كافي وبحاجة إلى مرافق، أو الطفل أو ما شابه ذلك، أو المريض اللي في حالة غيبوبة، أو كل هذه نسميهم vulnerable groups or individuals. All vulnerable groups and individuals should receive specifically considered protection. Research with such groups is only justified if the research is responsive to the health needs or priorities of this group. Also, should stand on benefit from the knowledge, practices, or interventions that result from such research. المبدأ اللي بعده scientific requirements and research protocols. Medical research involving human subjects must conform to generally accepted scientific principles, be based on a thorough knowledge of the scientific literature, other relevant resources of information, and adequate laboratory and appropriate animal experimentation. The welfare also of animals used must be respected. فهذا scientific requirement اللي هو accepted scientific principles, thorough knowledge of the scientific literature, relevant resources of information, and so on. The design and performance of each research study involving human subjects must be clearly described and justified in a research protocol. The protocol should contain a statement of the ethical considerations involved and should indicate how the principles in this declaration have been addressed. Protocol should include information regarding funding, sponsors, institutional affiliations, potential conflicts of interest, incentives for subjects, and information regarding provisions for treating and or compensating subjects who are harmed because of participation in the research study. In clinical trials, the protocol must also describe appropriate arrangements for post-trial provisions. So these are scientific requirements for research protocols. Ethics Committee. A research protocol must be submitted for consideration, comment, guidance, and approval to a research ethics committee before the study begins. It goes beyond saying also this is absolutely must. This committee must be transparent in its functioning, must be independent of the researcher, the sponsor, and any other undue influence, and must be duly qualified. It must take into consideration the laws and regulations of the country or countries in which the research is to be performed, as well as applicable international norms and standards, but these must not be allowed to reduce or eliminate any of the protections for research subjects set forth in this declaration. So هذه الكوميتي لها مهام كبيرة جدا و functioning independent researchers من الsponsors also من and duly qualified. The committee must have the right to monitor ongoing studies. The researcher must provide monitoring information to the committee, especially information about any serious adverse events. No amendment to the protocol may be made without consideration and approval by the committee. After the end of the study, the researcher must submit a final report to the committee containing a summary of the study's findings and conclusions. The other also principle, privacy and confidentiality. Every precaution must be taken to protect the privacy of research subjects and the confidentiality of their personal information. Participation by individuals capable of giving informed consent as subjects in medical research must be voluntary. This is about the informed consent, which is a very big issue in research and in medical practice. No individual capable of giving informed consent may be enrolled in research unless he or she freely agrees. That's what we call voluntarily. In medical research involving human subjects capable of giving informed consent, each potential subject must be adequately informed of the aims, methods, source of funding, possible conflict of interest, institutional affiliations of the researcher, the anticipated benefits and potential risk of the study, and the discomfort it may entail, post-study provisions, and any other relevant aspects of the study. هذه معلومات. That's why we call it informed consent. The potential subject must be informed of the right to refuse to participate in the study or to withdraw consent to participate at any time without reprisal. Special attention should be given to the specific information needs of individual potential subjects, as well as to the methods used to deliver the information. So this is a very sensitive matter. After ensuring that the potential subject has understood the information, the physician or another appropriately qualified individual must then seek the potential subject's freely given informed consent, preferably in writing. If the consent cannot be expressed in writing, the non-written consent must be formally documented and witnessed as much as possible. All medical research subjects should be given the option of being informed about the general outcome and result of this study. A lot of information to be given. When seeking informed consent for participation in a research study, the physician must be particularly cautious if the potential subject is in a dependent relationship with the physician or may consent under force. In such situations, informed consent must be sought by an appropriately qualified individual who is completely independent of this relationship. نقطة مهمة أيضا. The person who is incapable of giving informed consent, the physician must seek informed consent from the legally authorized representative, المرافق. These individuals must not be included in a research study that has no likelihood of benefit for them unless it is intended to promote the health of the group represented by the potential subject. Also, the research cannot instead be performed with persons capable of providing informed consent, and the research entails only minimal risk and minimal burden. Then research cannot be performed with persons capable of providing informed consent، لأنه إذا ما كنتش قادر تعطي هذا الريسيرش للجماعة اللي هم capable of providing informed consent، إذا بده يكون only minimal risk and minimal burden. When a potential research subject who is deemed incapable of giving informed consent can give assent to decisions about participation in research, the physician must seek that assent in addition to the consent of the legally authorized representative. The potential subject's dissent should be respected. Physically or mentally incapable of giving consent. Unconscious patients may be done only consent if the physical or mental condition that prevents giving informed consent is a necessary characteristic. فبالتالي in such circumstances, the physician must seek informed consent from the legally authorized representative. If no such representative is available, research cannot be delayed. Study must proceed without informed consent, provided that the specific reasons for involving such subjects with a condition that renders them unable to give informed consent have been stated in the research protocol and the study has been approved by a research ethics committee. هذا يجب أن يوضح أيضا. Consent to remain in the research must be obtained as soon as possible from the subjects or a legally authorized representative. Also, the physician must fully inform the patient with which aspects of their care and are related to the research. Refusal of a patient to participate or patient's decision to withdraw from this must never affect the patient-physician relationship. يعني رفض إنه يستمر، هذا مش لازم يأثر على علاقة هذا المريض بالطبيب. For medical research using identifiable human materials or data, such as research on material or data contained in biobanks or similar repositories. Physicians must seek informed consent for its collection, storage, and use. There may be exceptional situations where consent would be impossible. Such research, in such situations, the research may be done only after consideration and approval of a research ethics committee. هذه حقوق. يعني حتى هذه الماتيريال سواء كانت جلد anything that are bio, that's why they call it biobanks, hair ولا whatever, كل هذا المفروض انه يكون في له consent or research ethics committee. نيجي لموضوع آخر اللي هو use of placebo. الbenefits والrisk والburdens والeffectiveness of a new intervention must be tested against those of the best proven interventions ما عدا في هذه الحالات. Except where no proven interventions exist, the use of placebo or no intervention is acceptable, or where for compelling and scientifically sound methodological reasons, the use of any intervention less effective than the best proven one, the use of placebo or no intervention is necessary to determine the efficacy or safety of an intervention. And the patients who receive any intervention less effective than the best proven one, placebo, or no intervention will not be subject to additional risk of serious or irreversible harm because of not receiving the best proven intervention. Extreme care must be taken to avoid abuse of this option اللي هو البلاسيبو. انه انت بتقدرش تعطيه لمريض يستحق ان ياخذ دواء. تسجيل الريسيرش والpublication والdissemination. Every research study involving human surgery must be registered, publicly accessible database before recruitment of the first subject. Researchers, authors, sponsors, editors, publishers all have ethical obligations regarding the publication and dissemination. So it's a duty of researcher to make publicly available the results of such research, and they should be accountable for the completeness and accuracy of the report. All parties, المشرفين, they should accept the guidelines for ethical reporting. Negative and inconclusive as well as positive results must be published or otherwise made publicly available. Sources of funding, affiliations, conflicts of interest, everything should be declared. Unproven interventions in clinical practice. أحيانا بيكون التريتمنت where proven interventions do not exist or other known interventions have been ineffective. The physician, after seeking expert advice with informed consent from the patient or legally authorized representative, may use an unproven intervention if the physician's judgment it offers hope of saving life, re-establishing health, alleviating suffering. هذا طبعا بموافقة المريض. بس على شرط انه يكون في evaluation للsafety والefficacy. New information must be recorded and where appropriate made public.